I stayed with Muma for a while. I was healing fine physically, but spiritually, I was shattered. During my time there, I found out that her and her mom are mediums and practice Santeria, but she also indulges in brujeria sometimes, which I was unsure exactly what this meant. I was well aware that we have ancestors. I'm knowledgeable of gods and goddesses, but I had no in-depth understanding of this spiritual practice. I was certain that she was a real seer because one day she had given me a message from a loved one with a nickname that I had never told her. Eventually, I found an opening to retrieve my belongings. I had called my cousin to come help me, but he couldn't make it and called another cousin who was also a distance away. So he was going to call his friend who we both know I dated in high school, and that probably wouldn't have been a good idea for many reasons. And I had enough going on. Even though I was spiritually broken, I still know how spiritually protected I am, and I have literally watched how fast God comes and hands them exactly what they had given me when I leave it in his hands. Now, Puzzle's friend was in the house and let me know he wasn't home so I could go get my stuff, and I was able to get them successfully. Before leaving, he told me something that stuck, but my loyalty and appreciation of my friend superseded this advice, especially being that I know they had some history and he showed no care for my situation. He told me not to stay there because her home carried bad spirits, but I figured it could just be him being spiteful towards her and trying to repair the brokenness between his friend and I, so I went anyway. About a week or so later, I was out, and when I returned, the brand new boots that Puzzle had bought me that I left were sitting outside her building with that purple rose sitting on a box. I took this as him trying his apologetic bullshit again, threw the rose, and kept my boots because I went through a lot to go back and get my correct size, all the way in Queens Nordstrom rack after he had initially got them a size too small. Okay, at this point, yeah, let me just get those, because from the west side in the Bronx all the way to Queens for some boots, yeah, those are mine. Muma told me not to keep them, but my hard-headed self did anyway. And you won't believe, the boots got stuck on my feet. Yes. Mind you, I had worn these boots once before, and I'm the one who got my correct size, so I knew something was off. Muma helped me cut them off my feet. We went through hell and high waters to get those off of my feet, and we tossed them somewhere far away from her home. She told me she believes he put brujeria on my shoes, and this bugged me all the way out because I had never had anyone do that to me, at least not to my knowledge. One day, her mom came over and they read me, telling me they knew what Orishas were walking with me and how very powerful they are, which is why he was trying his best to figure it out so he could try and dominate, but that my protection was way too strong. They also told me not to tell anyone who they were because not everyone means well, and I took that advice because clearly they knew something that I didn't. I had began experiencing some paranormal activities in the house, but that part wasn't abnormal to me. I've always had spiritual encounters and have a great respect for the transition, so I just ask God for protection and to guide them to the light in these times. I'll say a prayer, and if they have messages for me, I'm attentive and I share them with whoever my spirit and God leads me to. Eventually, I will be back outside and back to my normal self, crossing paths with this guy at the store who I thought was quite handsome, but more so cool and funny as ever. I'll call him Fresh because he was in a couple of ways. Muma actually knew him and vouched for him, saying he was cool and thought we were cute together, but girl, I wasn't worried about that yet. I needed a break. He was cute though. We clicked, but we didn't really make any grand gestures because, as I said, I had enough going on. I was tired. I'm honest and told him I had a psychotic ex around the way. Although I hadn't seen him, I didn't want anyone in harm's way. He actually knew who he was, and before we could get anywhere anyway, why did this man pop up in the store one day while we were talking, telling him not to talk to me and acting like I was still with him or something? I was appalled because, first of all, you need to be happy you're still alive. Are you shitting me? Move around before I hit that button, bro. And I could tell he was mad because I didn't back down and I defended Fresh, but Fresh stood on his 10 and encouraged me to just go ahead back to the crib. But we could both tell that Boo Boo the fool over there wasn't about to do nothing at this point and saw his way out while throwing a tantrum like the man-child he was. This honestly gave us something to talk about, and we would now find each other cool and talking even more, to be honest. It was like Puzzle was promoting the ad and I wanted to subscribe because you gotta be intimidated for a reason. We were still cooling, just talking, and one day it had happened again. As we walked down the block, but yet again, he was just in a tantrum and left us to be after he realized nobody was taking his punk ass seriously. And I realized he wasn't pulling that shit he did with me, with a man, the comedy. He just wanted attention if you ask me. Of course, I wanted to avoid the drama, so I would just tell Fresh to pull up to the crib, being that we were all cool and Muma gave us the green light. Her mom was there at this time with her big and gorgeous pit that I love so much, and he was so protective of me too. He actually needed to be walked, and Muma was already outside, so I took him out and Fresh came along. Now, to get in her building, you had to get through 2 doors via key or intercom, and as we left out, someone rang the intercom with her mom assuming it was us, and she buzzed them in. Me and Fresh walked out the building to see Puzzle coming up the stairs to get to the building, and this man threw a whole fit. Why was he even trying to come there anyway is what baffled me. The audacity was astounding. He called himself trying to press Fresh again about being with me, and the dog immediately started growling at him, trying to jump at him, and then Puzzle grabbed his paw and squeezed it to hurt him. And the way I threw a fit, oh my gosh. And I was ready to let him eat him alive. I'm a thinker though, and knew how to keep him calm and not to attack because I did not need her losing her dog over my drama. The way I stared this man in his eyes, I'm sure he could tell all fear was out the window. And he ended up letting the dog go, proceeding to argue with Fresh. But again, Fresh was not backing down about me, and I don't know why, but that masculinity was everything to me. I still hated this for him though. Next thing you know, they're wrestling, and I say wrestling because Puzzle was clearly no match for him, and I'm sure he knew that, but he threw the first swing, so it's up now. But I respect Fresh because he wasn't even trying to hurt that man. He mainly was chokeholding him as they tussled down the stairs. I followed trying to break it up, and I saw Muma coming across the street, so I told her come get the dog, and one of our other peoples was outside the gate, both of them confused and asking what the fuck, what was happening, and all I could say was, your mans is on my... Big Bronx energy, you already know, okay? Now I'm heated because I'm having flashbacks, and I should have been put this man down when I saw him in the store. She takes the dog, and as me and our peoples tried to stop it, I realized Puzzle wasn't even fighting no more for real. He was trying to scratch Fresh, and something in me clicked telling me he's trying to do that black magic shit, and I felt it. So we finally got them separated as Fresh wasn't even phased anyway, but nah, it's my turn. And I owe him this ass whooping, and I just knew I wasn't losing. Puzzle looked at me trying to size me up, asking if I wanted to fight, and I looked at him laughing and said, yeah, I do actually. He reaches for my face, but I did not budge, and he snatched my glasses off and tossed them. So I'm just a simmering pot now. And I asked him if he was ready. He was still putting on a show, and I earthed this nigga. You hear me? When I tell you, just like Muma said, those angels were working through me this night. She had to be right because it felt like it. I started wilding this man out, barely giving him a chance to collect his thoughts. Every hit was for everyone I had to take and everything I had been through, period. I took it out on him. What makes it even crazier is I gained the strength to pick this man up off his feet and slammed his ass on the ground and just kept hitting him, blood everywhere. People looking out their windows, everybody standing around in shock. I was just starting to black out at this point, and all I remember is people grabbing me off him, and he was trying to hold on to my leg while I was kicking and punching. Fresh kept saying, okay, Cook, damn, don't do him like that. No, I was definitely going to do him like that, if not worse. If these people wasn't there to stop me, it was definitely going to be bad, okay? I got some more hits in before stopping, but that was a much needed release and a lesson for that man for real. Puzzle's friend came across the street and picked him up off the ground, put him on his shoulder, and carried him back to his building. Do you know this man was still talking shit to Fresh while getting carried away like a baby? Talking about, my bitch fights better than you. The confusion on my face, y'all, had to be top tier. But it got me so mad, and I just yelled back, I'm not your bitch. Now I'ma freak this man in front of your door so you know it's real. And this was the talk of the streets for a good little minute on the west side, okay? Unfortunately, this wasn't the end of my wild experiences, though. And that little move he pulled on Fresh, yeah, I believe I was very much right.